They say you cannot manage what you do not measure. You cannot manage what you do not measure. And the challenge for a lot of people is that, well, they don't measure what's going on in their life. I mean, realistically, how often do you go back to the things that you've already done and ask yourself, have I truly recounted what I was doing at the time? Do you take notes? Do you journal? Do you keep a record of conversations? Do you outline your sales process as an example? And if you do that, how often do you go back to that and revisit?
Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. And I think one of the challenges we find in society today are the number of people who flow through life minute by minute. And they might even intentionally be present in the moment. They might be focused intently in what's going on right now. The challenge is when the moment is over, so is their tracking of the moment. I mean, they might be really intently focused in what they're doing and saying right now, but they don't really go back at any particular point in time and reevaluate what they said, what the outcome was. Now, surely they're going to look at, did I get my way? Did I get what I wanted? Am I moving forward? Am I progressing? But how often do they go back to that point in time and say, when did it change? When did it change directions? What was the one thing that I did that made all the difference in the world? See, there are people who make an intentional purpose for tracking what they're doing. They make a plan, they make a goal, they start out with an objective down the road, maybe a year down the road, 2 years, 5 years down the road. They have a plan. They know where they're going to go with that. But they don't always go back to the plan to say, where am I? In fact, one of Paul Martinelli's most profound teachings is the fact that we tend to change the goal when the execution of our plan doesn't line up with the goal. Meaning, we've set out for a particular set of accomplishments, a certain level of sales, a number of products moved, new ideas implemented, new strategies put in place that have succeeded. And yet, when we look at all of those things 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, and realize we're not going to get anywhere near that, rather than coming back to our processes and saying, why is it we're missing? We simply move the goal to line up with where we are progressing to. Well, that doesn't help much. If you're not willing to go back and look at the processes, look at the actual steps that you took. Yes, you set a goal to have $100,000 in sales. That's awesome. But if you're in July or August and you're looking at your $100,000 and it's actually 70, do you go back to what did I do in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter to figure out why I'm 30% behind my goal? Or do you simply look at the goal and go, well, looks like we're going to be closer to 75 for the year, so let's just adjust everything to match the 75. See, that becomes a problem really fast when your goals, your targets, your accomplishments get adjusted to match the process rather than asking yourself, what's wrong with the process? If you're going to be in any kind of forward progressing growth in your life, personal growth, business growth, professional growth, the first thing you've got to do is keep record of where you are. You know, the coaches say all the time, business coaches, personal coaches, life coaches, they say, my job is to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. Great philosophy, good idea, very good target. But how many people have an idea where they want to be, but they have no true evaluation for where they are? It's really hard if the only measurement you have is the goals you're trying to attain to determine whether or not you're making any progress. You've got to also take a look at where you are now and be honest about it. You've got to look at what you've accomplished up to this point, whether that reached your goals or didn't. You still have to have a marker. You've got to have a starting line. You know, when they do the long jump, the running long jump, one of the markers of the running long jump is that line at the beginning of the sand pit. And if your foot crosses that line, they know you've cheated. So your foot or your hands have to be placed in the right spot before you leap into the air. Otherwise, the distance you've jumped doesn't count. It's disqualified.
How many people do you know that look back from where they are and they think, oh, I've made such great progress, but they don't realize that they kind of cheated from the start, or they don't even know where the start was? Next, you've got to actually be able to
employ the measurement devices of your progress. Not the process, but the progress. Say you jumped from the mark. Everything was good at the mark. You had your feet in the right place at the mark. You leapt at the right time. You go forward into the sand, but when you land, rather than falling forward, you fall backwards. Well, if your feet made it to the 7-foot mark, but you fell backwards and put your hands down, where your hands land, that's your actual progress. So your progress may not be a 7-foot jump. It may look like a 5-foot or 4-foot jump based on where your hands landed. Well, that's progress marking your process, meaning you didn't go through the steps completely to learn how to balance yourself in that awkward landing when you landed in a way that caused you to fall backward. You've got to fix that falling backward so that you land and move forward, so that your momentum, after all that effort, your momentum carries you further towards success. Well, one of the ways that I encourage you to do that is to keep a journal. Ask yourself every day, or at least on a weekly basis, what have I been through? What have I thought? What have I gained? What have I done? What activity have I actually done in this period of time that will allow me to look back 6 months from now and say, that's where I was off track, or that's where I got on track, or that was a huge progress in my understanding. When that awareness came in, my whole life changed. If you're not keeping a journal, that's going to be really hard to do. That's what I'm doing this week. I've actually pulled out all of my journals from 2020, even the ones that started in like September, October of 19, that moved into like January and February. All the things that I've studied, all the videos I've watched, all the books that I've read, all the courses that I've been creating my own, even the notes that I took after conversations with my own coaching clients where they sparked a new thought or idea in me. All the stuff that's written in those journals, I'm going back through those right now, rereading them, highlighting them, underlining them in a new color, marking the dates, completing the thoughts, and some of them just plain looking up the books that were referenced at the time and rereading that chapter to say, okay, so what exactly is the human principle, the people principles from the Winning with People book by John Maxwell that was referenced in the video training that I was watching at the time, because he references 2 or 3 points, but I had to go back to those people principles and read 2 or 3 of those to fill in my notes and know where I was at. It's real easy to take those notes and forget about it. It's real easy to take those notes and move on.
It's real easy in life to pass by the moments that were teachable moments and then never think about them again. So I encourage you in this week, as we're wrapping up 2020 and moving into 2021, that you take some time to review your notes. Go back to your journals, go back to the notes you took in the courses that you were in. And if you don't do it now, can I encourage you to keep your journals together? Even if you've got one journal for thinking time and one journal for the things you read and one for the video classes that you're taking or the online courses you're part of, if you don't have a way of marking within that journal a time frame and then the different categories that you're learning, at least keep the time frame on the outside of the journal and keep all of those journals together, because there is a crossover in your thinking if you're taking one course on video production, which I am, and another course on communication skills, which I am, and another one on leadership, which I am.
When all of those come together, the way that they intersect with each other is critical. And what they teach me, who they make me become, is critical as well. So I encourage you to keep all those things together and then go back on a regular basis and review them. If you're not doing that now, now's a great time to start. I mean, no better time than today. It's kind of like planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, but you can't. So the next best time is right now. If you're not taking notes in a journal and reviewing them regularly, start today. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.